You ready? The resolution is the European Central Bank should act to reduce inflationary pressures in the Eurozone. The inherency. The first argument is Germany is calling for a solution to the European inflationary trap, and this starts go a little like ahead of the German Economic Institute for Economic Research demanded that $60 billion worth of bond purchases per month happen on March 10th. The second argument is the European Central Bank is not going to go along in the steps with little as the ECB has stated that it is not concerned with inflationary pressures and actually is looking to increase interest rates. To be someone at the ECB's Mario Draghi has said that any sort of analogy towards Japan is false, and this is not like the 1990s. We disagree, but he definitely agrees with himself. That's the plan. The resolution, the European Central Bank should act to reduce deflationary pressures in the Eurozone by engaging in $60 billion worth of bond purchases per month until inflation reaches 2%. Engaging in $60 billion worth of bond purchases per month until inflation reaches 2%. So obviously the first argument is this is what Germany is called for, and it says it would be able to prevent a deflationary trap. The second argument is that the 2% target is modeled off of the empirically successful QE3 in the United States. The advantage one is the Eurozone. The uniqueness is that there's going to be a deflationary trap in this status quo. The first argument is deflation is a unique problem. The second one is the official ECB figures show that the Eurozone inflation fell to 0.7 in February, while it was only 0.8 in January. The second argument is the ECB has a 2% target of inflationary target, but they can't hit it because of inflationary pressures and because they're not taking any sort of action. The third argument is the nature of the Eurozone crisis is uniquely leading to a deflationary trap. The eighth one is the European crisis was the result of people's devaluing their assets because pigs' assets were not worth anything. They thus had mass sell-offs in the market that flooded the market further, which created a downward cycle. The eighth one is that this risks a total deflationary problem, which crisis that is uniquely problematic because as deflation happens, then the prices of the debt that people hold increases, which makes it harder and harder for individual countries to pay off their debt. The fourth argument is inflation brings down the EU economy as a whole. The eighth one is deflation makes the European economy especially vulnerable to emerging markets because their currency becomes far more expensive, which means it becomes functionally impossible for people to export. The what is it? This is a specific problem because it makes it progressively more difficult to pay off your debt. The fifth argument is deflation makes it impossible for the bailout regime to succeed. The eighth one is that current requires stipulations of the bailouts require Germany to run fiscal surpluses over the past 3 years of German wages. They have to decrease consumer fiscal surpluses, but over the past 3 years, wages have declined 3% and consumer prices have necessarily fallen. It's also made it impossible for them to export. The problem is that they can't export within the EU because they already are outcompeted by Germany, so their only hope is to export to other countries. But when their currency is so expensive, they simply cannot do that. The Links plan is able to solve for inflation. The first argument is empirics proof. The QE3 in the United States brought the federal government is in fact easing off of inflation because we've already approached our 2% targets, which will allow the U.S. Trade deficit to decrease. The second argument is cuts to the core of the debt problem. The eighth one is that it means that the amount of the cost of people's debt drastically decreases and makes it far easier for people to buy off their debt, which allows them to spend on other things. The third argument is it increases confidence. The eighth one is it signals that the European Central Bank is actually going to take the crisis seriously and recognizes the correlations to Japan and that they are not going to allow the deflationary trap to continue in perpetuity. The fourth argument is that it makes it easier for countries who are servicing debt to prevent that which prevents the collapse of the bailout regime. Look at our uniqueness. The internal is that one, a collapse of the EU economy would lead to overall economic collapse. The eighth one is that it would lead the collapse of it would lead to US correlates with US GDP by 70% because of economic interconnectivity. China is also the European Union's #1 trading partner, which means that they would not be able to, which means that China would functionally collapse. The 2008 proofs were also interconnected. Our argument is the deflationary trap is a unique problem because it doesn't start hitting until later, until people can't service their debts, etc. But then it suddenly kicks in and you see total collapse. The second argument is the breakup of the Eurozone. The eighth one is one country leaving, i.e. Greece, because they were not able to meet their stipulations, would lead to a cascade of other countries leaving. The one is this that leads to collapse. The low one would lead to countries to convert to new massive currencies, which would lead to a total devaluation. It would also lead to a run to the bank if people try to withdraw euros before the conversion happened. The Union Bank in Switzerland indicates that it would cause GDP to decrease within the seeding country by 40 to 50%. It would also lead to a collapse of Germany and France's GDP because they would lose their export edge, which plummeted. UBS indicates their GDP would decline 25%. The impact level is that of economic collapse. The first argument is it leads to resources. Countries that have securitized their resources with their military rather than trade because trade relies on has high fixed costs, which means it needs high volume. This means the countries go to try to conflict over oil and water between the United States, Russia, and China. This causes extinction because industrial fires can set up a lot of the sun are kicked around by trade. When the second argument leads to starvation, 2 billion people live on less than $1 a day in a world with trade collapse. Those people are all starved. The third argument is reversionary theory or world in which there's massive economic crisis. People are forced to go create scapegoats, which increase the likelihood of conflict. Advantage to Russia. uniqueness Russia is pushing to the EU and the status quo. The first argument is that they have made aggressive action in the east, one is in Ukraine. They are beginning to annex the Crimea and the status quo. They have just taken over a base today using military arms. The east one is that the custom unions has failed to get a deal done with listen, damn it, I forgot the country. The season one is Latvia and Poland, and the eastern countries are feeling pressure from Russia. The second argument is the European Union is critical and only counterweight the little a's the U.S. in action means that only the EU is able to check back. The decent one is the United States just cut aid to Ukraine last week to be the worst pact. The season plan is that it was the UK's free trade agreement with the European Union, which started things off, which means they have to finish it. The third argument is that the perceived economic instabilities would prevent the EU from being effective counterweight. The east one is that it is a question of economic power. The question of the Russian Eurasian Union versus European EU, and that is the question of what countries are going to join, but also whether Russia will reach economic parity. The recent one is that the failure of the EU zone would necessarily lead to people cutting military spending, which is proven by France and Britain's cuts during 2010. The European Union and UK also tried to do the links. The plan is able to bolster the perception of the European Union. The first argument is unified action. It indicates that they are moving step by step. Germany has empirically been not down with helping all the small countries, but in this instance, they're calling for it, which shows that the German-dominated economic agenda is appealing. The second argument, the plan also takes direct steps against the crisis to try to resolve the economic instability, which shows that the Eurozone is going to be successful in the future, which encourages people to move towards that, not the Eurasian Union. The internal links to the rise of the Eurasian Union would lead to Russian emboldenment. The first argument is that it would lead to the perception of economic parity, and thus the ability to go toe-to-toe with the United States and go into places like the Arctic, which increases the likelihood of miscalculation, especially because military assets are far afield from the United States, from either country, which increases the likelihood of rogue commuters, pressing the button, etc. The second argument is it also increases the likelihood of Russia doing a power play via their energy dominance, which would could lead to total economic collapse within the region because all of the natural gas comes to the European Union via Russia. We would argue that these also risk drawing the news because of security gains.
The order will be one off and then case in order.
Do I need the first page of the F?
Yes, please.
I'm assuming that you have inherency and solvency on the same page.
Yeah, that's just, like, when I flow an F, it's just like inherency, plan, solvency, then the advantages.
Okay.
Yep.
First is the German backlash to manage Japanese uniqueness of the Germany supports the Eurozone and the status quo. One is that Germany constitutional cardinal Tuesday lifted the cloud of uncertainty over the Eurozone may allow and indicated that they're running again if they believe in the Eurozone as a status quo, and German parliament is ultimately supporting the next Prime Minister Chancellor Merkel has actually been supporting the EU sanctioned Marshall with the Ukraine, meaning that they are ultimately supporting the Eurozone as a status quo. Next argument is Merkel's new coalition partners, the Social Democrats, actually favor the Eurozone as a status quo. Next argument is that Merkel wants Britain to stay in because she believes in the cohesion of this, meaning that she wants to see the Eurozone happen in the future based on links. This causes the German backlash from the Eurozone. One is that the ECB Governing Council member caused told Germany's handle spoke that action against inflation would actually be the absolute last response. He indicated Friday that he does not want to see signs of deflation. The next argument is that public opposition is to reject any action by the ECB. They believe that they are looking to other nations to say that Germany's expensive, believe that everybody should be not Germany not. The other way around. The next argument is that the plan actually signals an unexpected shift in the policy expectation from the ECB. Immediate action would be the ECB overstep now. The next argument is that Germany believes that it is steady now, but there is steady but low inflation now in the status quo. Don't believe that there is any action that's ultimately going to be needed. If there's action in the status quo, they're going to see this as a problem with the ECB. The next argument is that the internal link is that Germany is key to the EU economy. Would indicate that Germany finance the bailouts of the European Union, the Eurozone. The next argument is that this sets a precedent for leaving the European Union. Spain, Portugal, France, and Greece and Britain have all indicated that they would leave Germany. Actually, left at the same time. The next argument is that all these economies so quick would ultimately kill the economy of the Eurozone. We would indicate that that leads to the same economic problems that they isolate. One case. First argument is ECB overstructure, and the first argument under this is the status quo is the ECB has the task of the bank supervision and closer integration of the financial sector of Europe, and all of the handouts are on dealing with this. The next argument is the plan will divert the attention and resources from supervising the mandate and undermining the financial integration. This is going to be able to turn the entire base because it doesn't allow the ECB to look at other portions of the the economy to be able to make sure they're stable in the status quo. Next argument is that there's not going to be inflation. Not inflation. The first argument is that the EU Statistics Office Eurostat indicated that inflation was 0.8% in February. And it's not projected to go down to inflationary. ECB President Draghi indicated this. Their argument on their uniquest point is that it went down to 0.7. We indicate that it's not projected to go down anymore. Probably the reason that's why their uniqueness need to be a little more predictive. The next argument is that they project action. They projected action is only going to happen by 2016. If inflation is still low by 2, it's still below 2% according to the economist Howard A. Archer. The next argument is that economic growth is actually a prior question to deflation and inflation because economic growth allows individuals to spend more and the prices can actually risk. The next argument is that pigs nations are slowly marking recovery means that there's no reason to why this is necessary in the status quo.
What is your thesis of what they're working on in the status quo together?
Huh?
What are they working on now that causes overstretch and we can't do?
Currently they're working on bank integration, making so that they are able to deal with banking crises that might arise.
On the image. First argument is that the European economy is stable. Now, what is the European economic growth this year? Actually, figures were released that the growth was 1.3% for the quarter and the 1.2%. Overall, retail sales rose by 1.6% in January. It almost had any price decline that actually was able to come. The next argument is the EU confidence actually stable in the status quo according to the EU Commission. Based on the economic sector indicated by 0.2 points, is that confidence was ultimately up in the status quo. We would indicate that this means that their arguments are simply not true. The next argument is that they will ultimately decrease the economy because they're flipping this on the background. What's your argument?
Which one?
That the flips the
That's because it causes people not to be able to buy as much.
Oh yeah. The argument that it's going to be able to flip the economy is because it causes people not to be able to buy to be able to buy as much. Ultimately, an indication there. Next on the line, we would indicate the person they say that it fell to 0.7 to be as I've indicated before. This has to be predictive. Next, they talk about as a 2% target. We indicate that they would move by 2016 to be able to fix this 2% target. No indication of why. We need this plan in the status quo before 2016. Means that suppose ultimately be able to solve the case. Germany is only okay with the status quo action of the ECB being able to act by 2016, not before that. The next argument you say that it's going to bring down the economy, the EU economy would indicate that actually deflation means that European countries are actually able to buy from Germany at a higher rate, probably an indication that's ultimately going to turn 100% of this also. The next argument you talk about how debt causes ultimately to decrease. We would indicate that it actually makes it harder to buy products, means that there's no ability for you to gain any economic states. There also next you said that it's easier to service debt. We would indicate it might be easier to service debt, but there's no indication as to how the ECB is going to be able to do this with their current bank merger, or how this is actually going to work with people being able to buy more. Probably the reason that's why you're not going to be able to access consumer confidence or the purchasing power of the consumers. When you don't access the purchasing power of the consumers, that means that business confidence also goes down, because business confidence relies on the supply and demand chain, means that you are not accessing that. Next argument on the internal link, you indicate that it's going to be 70% of the economy. We agree that it's going to be 70% of the economy. However, we get there quicker with the time frame because we indicate that the status quo is solving by 2016. However, you cause Germany, Portugal, Spain, and Britain to ultimately pull out. This will ultimately kill the economy. Also, you're going to be conceding the economics is going to be a prior question argument to whether or not we can have inflation and deflation, means that our disadvantage is going to be a prior question to all of this. I don't think I need anything else. On Russia.
On where?
Did you want anything else?
No. Good.
Okay, on the Russian advantage. First argument is that the United States is going to be able to solve for 100% of this, or saying that the United States is going to be able to do this because of the fact that the EU, either you look at the EU as strong in the status quo. This is ultimately not true. Do not for the money any warrants. One is that Russia actually views the EU as inferior to them because of the fact that they can cut off gas supplies, means that they can control 100% of the EU. Also, the New Yorker did release a paper yesterday that indicated that the United States was actually key to Germany because Germany's just trying to push the West and see how far they can get them. But if the United States were ever to hurt the United States, or if the United States were ever to take an action that actually hurt Russia's economy, they would stop. Means that the United States is totally key.
And those sanctions are going to be passed soon.
Also, we would indicate that the sanctions are going to be passed soon by Congress because they passed the House with over 200 vote. Probably reason that's why they're going to be able to solve in the status quo. Next argument is that we are going to see that the United States military still spends more than the next 25 militaries. Russia knows that they're not going to be able to stand up to the United States. They wouldn't be able to stand up to the EU. Also, Russia's military is only working at 80% in the status quo. Means that they're not going to be able to have any sort of conflict. Also, they don't plan on investing anything into the military until next year, which is around $650 billion. That means that the United States will be able to solve the status quo because of the fact that Russia isn't focusing on its military. Now, the next argument is that the United States is actually key to the status quo because of the fact that they have shale gas reserves. That they have been talking about supplementing the EU and the Ukraine to this because they want to counterbalance Russia. Probably the reason that's why the United States is ultimately going to be better on this question. It's just a question of whether or not slow solving 100% this impact because Russia believes that this is only going to be helping this. Next argument is that when you cause Germany to pull out, this is ultimately going to lead to Russia, this is ultimately going to make your Republic inevitable because of the fact that Germany doesn't want to see this before 2016, nor do they like your plan with the ECB. We indicate that means that Russia is ultimately going to believe that they have more control over the EU because the EU is going to be fractured, and ultimately other nations are going to leave means that it turns 100% of your impact because you are never going to be able to get this. Also, we indicate that you have no impact to your argument because Russia's military is very strong in the status quo. If they were to move on anything, this would ultimately be problematic because the United States would be able to crush them. Also, the United States supporting China in the status quo to be able to go against this. China is ultimately key to Russia. This is referenced by the fact that China did not historically vote with Russia on the referendum over Crimea. Shows that the United States is only getting into the game with China. That means status quo is called because they are forcing China to call them out in the international spectrum. Also, if Russia just went into war over this would cause them to lose China. Probably the reason that's why they're going to not like that because they gain more from China than China does from them.
The order will be the solvency page, the disad, and the case. Ready? Ready?
Conceded arguments from the inherency indicate that Germany wants a plan which means that there's no link to your dissent. You've conceded the arguments which indicate that there's not going to be integration in the status quo because pig country will inevitably fall out of the bottom because there would not be the ability for them to have sustainable bailouts, which indicates it's tried after the plan. Your first argument is that the ECB has to focus on bank integration in the status quo. First argument is no more. Second argument is bank integration is empirically unpopular. If the unique arguments for your dissent are true, Germany would not want to integrate their banks. The next argument is insofar as it is true that they are moving toward bank integration. It proves that Germany is focusing on the easy and wants to increase its interaction with the ECB. The next argument is to join the ECB bank integration. Our argument is that insofar as we increase credibility of the ECB more generally because they look like they're not moving in the status quo. The majority of economists, including the statisticians from the French and German statistic manager, but also the Eurostats, think that there is deflationary pressure in the European Eurozone, and the status quo proves that we would increase the ECB's credibility and thereby have greater ability to integrate the banks. The next argument is saying that inflation is not as high as we wanted. The question is whether or not it is as high as they predicted it would be. If it is only 0.8 instead of 2%, that means that it is still generally deflation because they predicted and the rest of the economy around the globe increased more than they predicted it would, which means that their currency is still worth more than they thought it would be, which means that they still have the deflationary pressures. Deflationary pressure is necessarily bad because it increases the prices and decreases the price competitiveness with other nations, thereby increases kills consumer spending, wages, business profits, and investments, which has the internal link to the rest of the economy. You say the deflationary will be solved by 2016. No articulation of why this is true. If it is true that Mario Draghi and the rest of the ECB are not moving on this question in the status quo, then it's a question of whether or not plan is due or not. It's not a question of whether or not the plan will pass in the future because there's no argumentation that suggests it will. The next argument is that in a world where you've considered that our internal link scenarios happen far faster because it is a question of the effectiveness of the bailouts in the short term. It doesn't matter if we pass by 2016. You say economic growth is a prior question. Yes, it is, and it only happens in a world where we pass by the EU. You've conceded that the economic growth in Europe has been rather disappointing and it's going to kill the ability of the bailouts to be effective in pigs nations. You arguments that pigs are recovering. No warmth to these arguments. You will prefer arguments on the internal link level. What?
The ECB can do both the integration and this at the same time.
Additionally, the ECB can obviously do both at the same time. They have sufficient personnel and funding to go to the German backlash scenario. The first argument is cross-apply. The first and second intrinsic points. First, that Germany is failing, calling for an escape from the ECB deflation. The status quo. Second, that on March 10th, the German financial minister has called for exactly the plan, $60 billion in buying bonds per month. They demanded the plan, which indicates that it is obviously massively popular and indicates that there would be a willingness to cooperate. The next argument is you read a couple unique arguments which indicate that there is some sort of uncertainty regarding Germany's support for the Eurozone and the status quo. This has been empirically proven by the large political backlash among the Marxist parties in the recent German elections to have Merkel move away from the Eurobank more generally, which indicates that there is a risk that we would win offense on this long term because it proves that we would be able to move towards the European zone more significantly. You say that low inflation is happening in the status quo. We are winning arguments which indicate that this is actually a deflationary pressure because it does not match up
what the international economy is predicting the next argument is the German economy is not doing well in the status quo. The wages fell 3% over the last couple of years. The next argument is that they expected to rise over the past month, but they actually decreased over the last month, which indicates that there is a divergence between what specific indicators within the German economy and what is actually happening in the economy, which indicates that this would necessarily be good for the German economy because it increases the cost competitiveness of debt and their ability to leverage their prices more generally on the market. You've conceded all of the analysis from Advantage One, which indicates that when Germany has when the deflation happens within Germany, the prices for export in the manufacturing sector, which is the largest part of the German economy, are not able to leverage them internationally, and that they get outcompeted by countries mostly in East Asia, and thereby it collapses the entirety of the European economy because, as you say, the German economy is particularly critical, but additionally kills the rest of the European economy because it means that industrial nations in the rest of Eastern Europe can't export their goods anyways because German prices are still better than there, but not as good as internationally, which means that German crowds out the rest of the European economy, and the European economy, including Germany, is crowded out by the world economy, indicates that we are going to be better internally to offense on this piece of paper. Go to Advantage One.
No risk they leave because
additionally, no risk that they leave the Eurozone. Even if they were to have massive economic problems, they would not leave the European Union because they still can leverage their prices over the rest of the European Union and crowd out people in Eastern Europe. Those are arguments. Go to Advantage One. You make a couple of arguments that indicate the European economy is not doing too bad in the status quo, but you've considered the predictive analysis there. It's a question of whether or not the bailouts will be effective in the long term. The first argument is that unemployment in the Eurozone was at an all-time high in late fall. The next argument is car sales in Germany were 70% lower this March than they were in the previous March. Also in September, Italy's media bank has said that they would end up needing a bailout in the next 6 months unless they were able to lower the borrowing costs and have the gain economic traction, which only happens in the World Post Plan, which proves that there is more bailouts coming forward towards Italy in the status quo. If that happened in October, then that means that 6 months from now is now, which indicates that it's absolutely critical and that the time frame is far faster than 2016. You say people don't buy as much, our argument is that people are not able to buy as much in the world where these goods are worth a lot more money, which indicates that they would depress the ability for them to buy stuff from businesses. Business costs, though, profits go down, which indicates that they're able to pay their people less, thereby the discretionary spending of consumers go down, thereby, and also the investment within these companies drops, which indicates that it is generally better for the economy. Behind on the question of the way the mechanics work, you said that the move by 2016 to fix 2%. I've already answered this argument. You say deflationary means that the buy from Germany at a higher rate are, or you indicate that this would crowd out investment within other areas of your economy which are significant, and in a world where you've conceded that that if Greece or Italy or someone else left the European economy would cause the entire collapse of the Eurozone, which indicates that it would turn all of this and cause all other impacts. You said that there's no explanation of the current bank merger. There's no reason why we need to contextualize this with the bank merger. They are not a trade-off. You say that trying to increase business confidence, no risk that we collapse business confidence in the world. Business confidence is permanently low in the status quo because they're not able to sell as many things because consumers are not able to buy as many things because they cost more. It is only a risk that we would be able to resolve the question of business confidence. You've also conceded the question of the ECB taking things seriously, which is tanking the confidence more generally in a world where we are able to resolve the question of the dependability of the ECB. We resolve this question. You say status quo false by 2016 already answered this. You have no more for this. You say the dissatisfactory question or articulation why, but your conceded arguments indicate that the Eurozone break would be really bad. Additionally, Italy's key dominoes to Greece, Spain, Portugal, and Cyprus. Additionally, it's the third largest economy in the European Union, one of the world's largest debtors. Collapse from the investor confidence or collapse of Italy would cause investor confidence, business confidence to collapse liquidity. The German banking Deutsche Bank has $72 trillion of exposure to derivatives. If Italy's economy collapsed, it would make trillions of dollars collapse overnight, which would literally kill the economy. To put this in perspective, 2008 was only $3 trillion. The U.S. GDP is $15 trillion, but this is $72 trillion in exposure, which is bad. None of these arguments about U.S. checks are responsive to any of the scenario. You can see that that is a question of our ability to give an alternative home to Ukraine in a world where we are perceived as in a world where it is a question of the United States skewing out Russia in the context of future incursions, but it is a question of economic hegemony, not military hegemony. You will lose this. You will lose the responsiveness of all of these arguments. It is not a question of whether or not Russia views the European Union as inferior because of gas cuts. You have continued arguments indicating that they are able to increase their economy more generally via the plan, but it is a question of whether or not they are able to provide an alternate home and bolster their action within Eastern Europe more generally and provide economic support to all of these countries in a world where you've conceded that they're in a world after the plan causes the Eurasian Union to grow within Eastern Europe and encourages future incursions on soil. There's literally no risk that you win these arguments. You say the United States military is huge. That is not deterring Russia from taking what it thinks is its Crimea and the status quo. You say that they are not focusing on the military spending. That is not stopping them from engaging in places like the Arctic. They are building an Arctic fleet, which indicates that we still get access to our Arctic resource war scenario. You say that the United States is going to pass this bill in the status quo. That does not provide the incentive for Russia not to invade another country because it is not a military response by the United States. It is not perceived as credible deterrence. It is a question of the ability of Ukraine to provide economic hegemony and leverage back against European, the Eurasian Union in the long term. You say that Russia's military is not strong enough. The U.S. question is a question of the Arctic. Specifically, they have 18 icebreakers. We only have 3, which indicates that it is a question of relative strengths, which would default to TNWs because that is their
their military doctrine, which would direct the nuclear to cause nuclear crisis. But you've also conceived the miscalc, which breaks through all of these questions of relative strengths. It is not a question of whether or not China is key to Russia. They abstain from the recent bill, which proves that they're not taking sides. It's policy of non-interference. It's a question of whether your economic hegemony can check back future incursions in places like the Arctic, which go to these regions.
All right. Order will be Russia, the Germany dissent, solvency debate, and then econ. Sorry for just jacking us, by the way, without asking. That's kind of impolite. My apologies.
It's true. Ian is nothing if not polite.
I try my best. Poor little Mormon boy from Kansas. All right. On Russia, only need a few arguments. Extending Ryan's analysis from the New Yorker, which was from Russia, which indicates that any type of harsh sanctions against them would cause them to back off because they don't want to risk their economy. You couple that with the second argument about the sanctions will pass through Congress because of over 300 vote that happened within the House allows for Senate to be able to pass them as well. Indication of why we are about to take economic action against them that will cause Russia to actually backlash according to their own admission from Putin. Drop down to the bottom. You have to see the fact that currently we're recording China right now, is including the fact that they did not vote with Russia on the Crimea argument. You've also seen the second argument, which indicates that they want to be able to build up more allies in order to be able to have access to resources, specifically that they would not want to move on to Arctic because China would be able to backlash against it. This is indicated not only by the fact that China is currently trying to get on the Arctic Council, but also because of such a disruption of the economic trade ties. Those are indications about why there would be no type of war here. Also, if we win the arguments about why the European Union economy ultimately goes down because of your plan, then going to your scenario a lot sooner anyways. Germany. We're not going to go for German pullout. I think that the analysis there. That they will never pull out because they won't risk it. Go to their arguments about how they actually help the German economy. The first argument is that the overall, you have to see Ryan's analysis on the advantage, which indicates that overall deflationary pressures actually helps the German export market because it allows for other countries within the European Union to be able to purchase more from Germany. This is why it actually strengthens their ability to be able to sell their other nations. The second argument that we need is that the German economy, while perhaps there's only 3% reduction of wages, there's no analysis about exactly why that's going to cause a complete collapse of the German economy. Probably no indication of why they're not able to be able to survive into the future. Next argument is about how we have the month specific and it's good for the economy generally because of the reverses deflationary pressures. The first argument is there's no analysis about how quickly this is able to access the impact. Probably need to be able to have an actual analysis about how we'll be able to buy 60 billion results in the next month in order to be able to have a quick time frame. The second argument is that even if you're correct about exactly the way in which is able to help the deflationary pressures, that's not actually culminating in complete German collapse. There's no analysis about why that actually gets them anywhere there. On next one, which is solvency. I really want to talk about that econ advantage. ECB overstretch, it's in the argument that they can do both, which means that even if it looks like the ECB is more credible, they can still be able to do either it right now or do it at a post-plan. There is no offense here that they can go for. On the inflation arguments, they make the arguments that it's a question of price competitiveness. You can see our analysis, however, that they're currently projecting that there will be no further deflationary pressure. Also, that this deflationary pressure will be able to stabilize by 2016, or the ECB will take action against it before that happens. This is an indication that even if you're correct about the current direction, there is going to be inevitable action. Our argument is necessarily, however, that it's allowing for slower integration of these ability to deal with such as balance in the future. Also, our arguments are indicative of the fact that there is no current deflationary pressure that's going to push them any further. This is because they've been stabilized over at 0.7% overall for the last 6 months. Indications of why there is no capacity for you to be able to resolve that. Also, drop down to the economic growth that resolves this. They make the argument that this only happens or that you are able to self-accuracy to increase the overall economy. However, this is an indication that our econ growth arguments on the advantage are also indications of why inflationary pressures are going to return due to the European Union. No reason why this is not true. Also, it's an indication that when we have overall economic growth because of such as consumer spending, it is internally to be able to deal with deflationary pressures. Indication of why this was able to resolve via increased spending. Eurozone. They make the arguments about the Benelux first. They make the first argument that unemployment has overall fall, but you can see a rise analysis which indicates that overall regional sales were able to deal such as price declines, as well as the fact that the European economy grew by 1.3% in the last quarter and 1.2% in the current quarter. Both are indications of why unemployment was able to be able to resolve because we allow for the business to be able to survive in the future. Next argument makes about German auto companies are 70% reduction in last month. No analysis about why exactly 7% reduction is necessary to the German economy. Also, no analysis about exactly what will happen in the future or in the past of the German auto sales. This means that there is no relation to exactly how that month indicates the entirety of the European economy. Next argument we make is about the bailout. The first argument is that the bailout probably an indication that the fact that we're currently considering whether or not to give a bailout to Italy is an indication that we're willing to work with us in the future. Second argument, the bailout is able to rely upon such things that the bailout is able to be resolved via current pressure, such things as being able to give more money to them, as well as be able to renegotiate. There's no analysis about why exactly we have to have a complete change of deflationary pressures and we'll resolve this. Next argument makes about such things as we do not buy as much because of consumer payments. Externalized analysis, when we actually increase inflationary pressures, means your money's worth less. It means that you can buy less overall. Even if you're correct that there's a question of whether or not we have export markets, you are reading the consumer arguments the wrong way. This is because the ability to be able to purchase more is based upon whether or not your money is worth more. Indication of why we're able to purchase more things. Also, is an indication of why it helps out the German economy even more. The next argument we make is 2016 is now soon enough. There's no rate to exactly how quickly the deflationary pressures are going to cause a complete collapse of the German economy. It means that we, even if we do not win the arguments about arguments about the status quo is currently good enough, indication that we are able to resolve this in the future. Only chance that you cause the economy not to be able to do such things as be able to purchase more things from out. The next argument we make is about crowding out investment. The first argument against this is our arguments about how the deflation actually allows for such is able to deal with such things at higher rates. Specifically, while deflationary pressures makes it more difficult to pay off your debt, it makes it more possible for you to buy products so you can survive more in the future. It means that there's an inherent trade-off that does not able to be resolved. The next argument is that we would not trade off with there such things as the consumer spending. Now that's above analysis about why consumer spending is dependent on whether or not their money is worth as much as possible. The next argument makes business confidence doesn't matter because they can't sell as many things. You've only isolated one thing, was the German auto market, and no analysis about any type of economy. Also, our analysis about why it specifically is able to help the German economy is probably an indication of being able to reverse the trend within the German auto market. The third argument against this is that we are also capable of raising business confidence because of such things as being able to buy more products. Even if you're correct that there is an overall decrease amount that they're able to pay to number of individuals, they're able to use more of that money to be able to purchase more things. Indication of why the business confidence argument goes everywhere. Also, no analysis why business confidence is key to consumer confidence. Our argument that is indicative of the fact that you actually take consumer confidence because there's no longer ability for them to be able to purchase many products. Costs their money be worth less, and therefore causes business confidence to go down as well. The next argument we make is that ECB is not currently being taken seriously. The first argument is our analysis about why the ECB is predicted by 2016 that will take action. It's probably an indication of why they're taking this adequate action right now. Also, no analysis about why. No analysis about the fact that they're already pointing out the multiple contingency plans, such as the fact that there's currently a stabilization of inflation right now means that there's no possibility for you to be able to access why the ECB is not currently taking it overall seriously. The next argument makes about Italy. We don't really need to worry about this because we're arguing that you don't get to the internal link level in the first place. Next are the arguments that we need to extend that they didn't respond to. Rise number 2, which indicates that the euro crisis actually has had overall confidence increases. This is because of such things as the ability to deal with the bailouts, as well as the fact that this allows for them to be able to interact better. Indication that the economy as a whole is able to be able to have an increase in confidence in such as investors as well as business. Indications then why the economy is able to grow. The next argument we need is the argument about the debt crisis and the ability to buy more products that was not stated above. This is an indication that the ability to buy products is the ability to be able to resolve the debt crisis. This is because when we be able to buy more products, we see that overall profit margins are capable of rising. Also, it's an indication that they're capable of using this new type of money to be able to finance themselves a little further. Next argument, well, that's all. I don't know why I'm not giving you 7 minutes.
Alright, the LOR is going to be on one sheet of paper. Awesome. Is that very good? Sounds good. Washburn MK has won this debate for 3 main reasons. The first is time frame, the second is probability, and the last is magnitude. First on time frame. We are running into the status quo that Russia is saying that if the United States actually doesn't need any sanctions that are actually going to hurt their economy, that they would stop all of their actions in Ukraine. They already got Crimea. They are only pushing the West. That means that there's no time frame on this. So we indicate that sanctions are going to pass. That goes straight against it means that there's no time frame on their second advantage. It is only a question of advantage 1 at this point. Also, they are conceding arguments that China wants to go to the Arctic Circle, and the status quo means that if Russia were ever to do this, they would cut their ties with China, which is something that they would never do. Probably the reason that's why they're never going to be able to do this, even if they have more ice figures. Probably not a reason that's why they would lose China over these arguments. No reason that's why they would do that. Also, we would indicate there is no time frame there, no solvency, no probability for that impact. Means it's only a question of advantage 1. The next argument that we need on the time frame is ultimately going to be the projection. Inflation is not going to go down in the status quo, but if it does go down by 2016, they are saying that another election is going to happen. We indicate that economist Howard Archer indicates that this is ultimately going to be true. Probably the reason that's why the status quo is going to resolve 100% of the impact because of the fact that there's not a projection now. But if there was, it would ultimately be solved back. The next argument that we're going to be winning on is that the economy is good now. Retail markets are actually up by over 1.6%, and also the economy is growing by 1.2%, being able to offset all of the negative demand. That is exactly what my board on the Union says. He doesn't talk about this whatsoever. How we are ultimately being able to increase the status quo and offset the demand. Probably reason that's why we're going to be able to do this. Also, we indicate that ECB credibility is high in the status quo. Where I said we are actually going to lose on any sort of offensive argument about the ECB credibility in the time frame, because by 2016 they've already said that the assessed market means that they're credible regardless of the affirmative claim means we've won our time frame. Next on probability. 0% probability on Russia, 100% the status quo is going to be able to solve the impact. Also a probability that this right now would make the market worse. First argument that we're ultimately going to need this actually causes them to buy less because of the fact that it decreases the purchasing power and that consumer confidence is ultimately going to be the internal link to business confidence. He blips over this. Probably reason that's why we're going to win the debate because of the fact that we are focused on the consumer confidence, which is the internal link to business confidence, and in tandem also the internal link to investor confidence. We would indicate that they also don't isolate any breach to collapse in the status quo. Probably reason that's why you're going to prefer us a probability because they have literally not a probable impact. Also, we indicate that deflation is ultimately going to mean that they can buy more products and purchase more means that purchasing power is ultimately keeping the economy. They concede that purchasing power is keeping the economy means we have 100% probability that if you decrease that purchasing power, the business confidence will only go down because consumer confidence is business confidence is indicative of consumer confidence because of the fact that they look at the demand of the supply chain to be able to figure how much they want to put in the market and different things like this. Also, we would indicate that they are specific to the German economy, and this status quo means that there's no ability for them to have any probability on this argument. If we are winning the internally about purchasing power, and the deflation is ultimately going to kill this in the status quo. Probably reason that's why we're going to win this debate. Also, since we're winning the consumer confidence, key to business confidence, because the supply and demand chain means that ultimately businesses are going to see the status quo as being able to solve means that they are ultimately going to resolve these impacts now. Also, here they're seeing analysis from me, and that indicates that they're ultimately going to be able to buy more products. They could go. The only argument they're going to be able to go for is the $60 billion argument. We would indicate that we turn 100% of this argument because of the fact that we are key to consumer confidence. Even if they're saying that this is key to market confidence, we indicate that consumer confidence is the bottom level of that economic market that actually is key to there. Means that they don't have any probability of solving. They only have probability that they're going to destroy purchasing power in the short term on the magnitude. We're winning the internal link to the economy on the consumer confidence, that it's in the internal link to business confidence, and that they decrease purchasing power in the short term. That means that we win this debate. They have conceded that by 2016, an inevitable action will be taken if there is not that 2% bright line. We would indicate that they are not projecting that deflation is actually going to get to such a level that they would need to take this action. Ultimately means that the status quo is going to be able to solve, or they're going to screw up this purchasing power in the short term because they're not allowing the status quo to do its job.
Okay. The order will be, did you flow, just a quick question, did you flow the stability uniqueness debate about inflation on the solvency page, or did you flow that on the advantage one?
Let me look real quick. Well, like the 8.8%, 0.7.
Yeah, it's stabilized.
Yeah, I have that on the solvency page.
Cool. Then I'll do it. Then for your, I thought so. I drew a line under where I think he transitioned. It'll be.
Yeah, like the last argument I have the solvency page is the pigs recovered coming now don't need.
It'll be advantage to this Germany.
You said?
Yeah, solvency advantage. On top.
And I'll be on top.
Ready? Two reasons you voted for it. The first argument is that the status quo will inevitably trip the link to the advantage. So it's a question of whether now is better than later. And the only now key word is the Germany and the Italy scenario. Second is that they have totally mishandled the Russia scenario. That would be the only external offense and the only large enough internal link to the economy, i.e. people actually the Eurozone is only a function by us, which means they don't have access any unique offense, but we do now. Go to the Russia scenario. Your New Yorker argument is laughable. First, it doesn't grapple with the thesis of the Germany scenario. It's a question of whether the European Union is able to create an alternative economic model that prevents war, not just now, but also in the future. So even if you're right that sanctions to Ukraine are able to prevent that, we will not go for the Ukraine crisis. But you've conceded that a world in which Russia gets to the Eurasian Union because the European Union does not look like a good destination for smaller countries because the ECB continues to allow deflationary crisis to happen until things like 2016, despite the fact that Germany and Italy need to have that solved in order to solve the debt crisis. Nobody joins the European Union or other countries like Ukraine, etc., and Ukraine, Latvia, etc., start to join the European Union, which gives Russia the perception of economic parity. There was literally not a single argument as to why sanctions in the world of economic parity, which would give Russia military parity, would stop them from moving into places in the Arctic. Do not do that kind of cross application. Their China argument is a relevant one. They have conceded that China did not vote yes, but they were taking a policy of non-involvement, which means that Russia does not think they would piss off their allies by moving into a place like the Arctic, in which Russia is an awesome economy. Why would they really care if your EU economy goes down? You will not access a sufficient link to this argument. One is that it's a question of perception. Even if this ultimately hurts an economy like Germany, it definitely helps Italy and Greece, who have a massive amount of debt, and it definitely creates a model that looks good for smaller countries, which is what the internal link is about. Now, you've considered the entirety of the miscalculation scenario in which Russia feels that it has economic parity over the United States. It moves into places like the Arctic. You've conceded because of the amount of distance that they would lose commanders who would ultimately attack, and news would retaliate, leads to nuclear war and extinction. This diagram is functionally relevant when there is a conceded extinction scenario. The ACE one is that in the face of extinction, which is 7 billion people in all future generations, the magnitude of extinction is not contingent upon when it happens, just the fact that it does occur, which means this debate is not a question of how long we have to live, but whether we can live at all. Go to the dissent. Look, even if you win a link to your Germany position, ask yourself, are any of their links culminating in economic collapse? They will not win that because, one, there was a ton of yes-no questioning back and forth, which means it's very difficult to assess the probability this will help the economy in some ways, and it maybe will hurt the economy in other ways. Second is that the only extremely large internal link to economic collapse that has been isolated is the pullout of the economy. So this argument will not, and none of their links will be sufficient magnitude. Now, they say this helps Germany because other people can buy goods. This does not matter because even in a world in which the Eurozone is extremely expensive, means Germany can't export to other countries as well. And even if there is an increase in the amount of the cost of the Eurozone, Germany always has cost competitive over other countries within the Eurozone because they all use the same currency. So it doesn't matter how the currency goes up and down within the Eurozone. It's just a question of outside countries. Also, they have considered the uniqueness of the manufacturing sector. Yes, this is important. Germany's car sales declined 13% over the past month, and you can see the manufacturing sector is the largest internal into their economy, which means that you and I winning uniqueness for this turn go to the solvency debate. Now, there is not going to be stabilization for a litany of reasons. You have conceded 4 different authors who indicate that the ACB is wrong. First is that according to the Financial Times, they do not take finance or credit into account, which is slogan to empty. Number 2, second, you've conceded that Germany and the French and German State's Office indicate that the ECB is wrong and that they think that it is not stabilizing. The third is that the head of the German Economic Institute for Economic Research says we need to act now. The fourth is that the German's own finance minister on our uniqueness of the German indicate the ECB is wrong. You say it's been stable for the past 6 months. No, in the last month it dropped 0.1, which is a lot in economic terms. So no, you're not winning uniqueness where these arguments go to. Their case arguments. Look, their entire thesis is that there was going to be a decrease in the ability of consumers to have some access to money. This is not a sufficient link into economic collapse because a lot of things prevent people from preventing that. But one, you've conceded the link question, which is that the debt crisis is really what is preventing people from leveraging the money that they have, i.e., like using their houses, etc., to do spending when their debt costs a ton of money because there is no inflation. It makes it possible for spending, which means that there is not going to be consumer spending in the future. Second is that we actually increase the amount of exports that companies have, which means companies do stronger. So even if people are not able to buy as much, they get more money from their employer, which means their wages go up. At least this should be sufficient defense because it's not answered in any of their scenarios. Now, we will win an internal link that is totally conceded. The bailouts are going to fail because the debt is going to cost too much, which means countries, large companies are not going to service it. Their only argument is that we will renegotiate. This is too little, too late, because countries like Germany, per your own uniqueness arguments, indicate that they are tired of renegotiating because they think it is a drain of their political system. This is the last time they will ever do it, and I seriously get golden PMR answers, so why would you not take that as 100%?